I'm Bob Randall. I've been a commercial ad photographer in Chicago for probably the last 35 years. Most of that time early on was spent as tabletop food photographer. Since about the year 2000, I've concentrated on photographing people. So I'm relatively new to the people market in this town. The fact that it was a CMOS sensor, I'd like to sound real intelligent, like I know everything that's going on between a CCD array and a CMOS, and I know a little bit about it, but whether one is better than the other, I know one is faster, but better, I had no idea. So I just wanted to see what the CMOS was capable of. I wanted to see for myself if it was as fast as they were claiming. I wanted to see file fidelity, things like moire patterns, all the stuff that kind of plagues the older bodies. My Vallejo, and I don't even use the Vallejo, but the Aptus are fairly slow. They're prone to harsh edge effects. And most of the time when I do jobs anymore, I rent camera backs. So I just wanted to see the IQ 250 to see if it would fall in line with what my needs were. When we talked about it, decided that we could do a studio shoot and cover all those issues and also see how it operated in studio circumstances. So we set it up that we would have HMI lighting in here. We would do some high ISO testing, some nominal 100 ISO tests, things of that nature. What I was looking for was in the higher ISO, they've made claims with that back that it's color fidelity and tone and contrast at ISO 6400 are unequaled, and I wanted to see that for myself. I wanted to test the camera in circumstances I was uncomfortable with. So I needed a stylist, I needed a makeup artist, I needed an assistant. It's too small to have worried about a producer, and you were bringing all the gear, so I didn't have to have a full crew, but I wanted to at least experience what it was like with a partial crew. I wanted a diversity of ethnicity and color tone in the talent that we chose. I wanted to see skin problems, I wanted to see color issues, I wanted to see contrast issues. This fella here is a fairly dark African American guy, and we put a white t-shirt on him, and I wanted to light that as harshly as I've ever lit anything without filling the shadows and see what kind of result I got from it. And I have to say it's a pretty surprising result. In terms of the ability to catch detail in the shadow, I know on the shadow point here between his shirt and his arm, it's the darkest spot on the picture, and it's reading 12, 14, 16, where this is reading 250, and when I'm done with the manipulations to bring detail back in, you can make this thing as flat as anything I've ever shot with full studio lighting, and I believe this had just one mola off to the side and not even pointed directly at him. It was basically an edge light on him. One of the things that I noticed about this picture in particular, I haven't had a chance to play with it too much, but one thing that happens with liquids and digital backs, and I'm not sure exactly why, the edges of liquid droplets and spray on skin, no matter how you grease the template, so to speak, they just seem to fade and disappear. And in this particular case, I'm seeing droplets stand out where normally would have to work them harder with masking. So the shooting was so fast, I couldn't believe that the system kept up with me. In the cameras that I'm accustomed to working with, there's buffer writes, and once you fill the buffer, you have to wait. I constantly have my Digitech or assistant sitting at the computer going, hold off, and I hate that more than anything. Just play with your hair, do any kind of silly stuff.
Doug, I have so many beeps going off at me right now, I can't tell what's going on.
I was shooting so fast, not necessarily in an effort to get wonderful shots, but just to test the system, and I couldn't bog it down at all. So that was truly impressive. So much so that I'm thinking of dumping this tower setup and going for the iMac, at least as a tethered unit. I don't think I'll ever get rid of the calibrated monitors, but as a shooting setup or system, that was just wonderful. With regard to moire, I didn't do anything special. I didn't change the lighting. I didn't, as far as I know, and based on what I've seen once we transported the images over to this computer, we didn't do anything with a moire tool. So what I was looking at was directly out of the camera. We did, I don't know if you knew about it, I did 2 moire tests, one with the African-American gentleman and one with the Caucasian gentleman. The test with the Caucasian gentleman was a little bit more defined in that I shot him in a couple of different magnifications, walked in closer to him to get more and less detail out of his shirt. But this fella, the African-American fellow, was wearing a suit that I thought was probably going to give me more moire problems than the Caucasian guy's shirt did. Completely blown away by lack of moire. I don't know if I could come up with something better to shoot that would definitely give me moire. We had wardrobe selections, and I chose specifically to get moire, and I didn't see any of it anywhere. I've not had a very high opinion of phase backs at all. My opinion was that they basically were good for product and possibly architecture. They were horrible for people and clothing. That opinion has changed immensely. This back is absolutely beautiful.